This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about how to keep your focus and your nerve amid market chaos. Today, I'm talking about staying focused on the long term. There's a quote by Warren Buffett that I really love. He says, if you aren't thinking about owning a stock for 10 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. In other words, if you're not in it for the long haul, why bother investing at all? I have this conversation with clients sometimes. It is hard to think long term. I mean, naturally, I think we're more focused on the short term, the here and now. The future self, like the future us, is like, well, I don't care about that person as much because I care about me right now. And that's a normal response. We all make decisions based on favoring short term over the long term for the most part. But even if you retired today, it's still very important to remind yourself and remember that we got to stay invested for the long term because you have to stay invested for the rest of your life. Now, maybe you don't have to stay invested exactly how you are today, but chances are, and hopefully you're not, as soon as you retire, you're not going to cash everything out, put it in cash, bury it in the backyard. No, you're going to generally maintain a specific mix of stocks and bonds. And so even if you were retiring today or in the next few years, or maybe you've already retired, we still have to keep the long-term view in focus because you still probably have 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years left on this planet. And so we need to make sure that your money is invested a way to sustain you for that long. You may have a shorter time horizon and need to pay attention to how you're allocated to stocks. That's normal. Like I'm 40. I hate saying that. I'm 40, but I have hopefully much longer time horizon than most of you listening. I have a long ways before I would hit my normal retirement age. I'm looking at working for 20, 25, possibly 30 years. I don't know. And then beyond that, as long as I have good health and I can expect just based on normal life expectancy, I can expect to live into my 90s and I should plan for a 50-year time horizon for investing at this point, which means I'm focused on growth. I want to maximize my returns because, hey, I have 50 years. I have at least 20 years until I retire. So I need to maximize that growth and not underperform because I was too conservative. So that's taking the long-term view. But we could also take the long-term view if you're 60 or 65 or 70, because now you're like, okay, well, if I'm 70, if I'm in good health, et cetera, you still have about a 20-year life expectancy. If you're a man, maybe it's a little less than that. If you're a woman, it could be even a little longer than that. Like there's a good chance that if you're listening right now and you're in good health, that you will live to your 90s. It's a really high likelihood that that will happen. So for most people who are close to retirement, we still need to keep that long-term view, decades, in fact, of being invested, staying invested. And so that means maintaining a certain allocation to stocks. Generally, if you're pretty close to retirement, it varies obviously, and it should be custom tailored to your personal risk tolerance, income needs, et cetera. But generally for most people, it's going to be between 40 to 60% in stocks at or around retirement. And that's because we need to focus on growing this, but also protecting against the downside too. So it's great to have the growth of 100% in stocks, but you don't want to be crawling out of that hole for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years because you still maintained 100% allocation to stocks right at or right around retirement. The more conservative sort of balanced allocation of 40 to 60% in stocks helps to keep that long-term view in focus when you're at retirement age. But it also provides some growth, a decent amount of growth actually, without the whiplash of a much higher allocation to stocks like yours truly has. Keep that in mind. If you're not thinking about owning your portfolio, I would say for 10 years, 15, 20 years, don't even think about owning it for 10 minutes. We have to stay focused on the long term, and we can't be so centrally focused on what's happening today. And that goes for what's going on in the markets, what's going on in the economy, what's going on in the political environment, whether you like it or not. We have to stay focused, look beyond that. Yes, it does matter, but we have to look much further beyond that to ensure that we're invested in a way that focuses on the long term. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.